You have watched the same room hand down two different verdicts on you. You sat with someone in their worst hour and they held your hand like you had saved them. You told someone a truth they needed and they went quiet and stayed quiet. Same care, same eyes. You decided the difference was your delivery. It was not. There is a kind of person who has always been here. They go by different names in different centuries. The cunning woman, the hermit, the witness, the seer, the exile. The world has tried more than once to be rid of them. The world has never managed it. If you carry one of these patterns, you already know. Today, two children of the same house. A brother the world believed, and a sister the world refused. Troy learned this split 3,000 years before you did. It has not healed yet. Troy, in the last generation before its fall, its king and queen, Priam and Hecuba, had many children, among them twins, a boy named Helenus and a girl named Cassandra. An old tradition tells that as infants they were left overnight in the sanctuary of Thymbraean Apollo outside the city walls. In the morning the nurse found sacred serpents coiled beside them, licking their ears clean. Whatever passed to them in that temple, they carried the same thing out of it, sight. But watch what each of them did with it, because everything that follows turns on this. Helenus made his sight into a craft. He practiced augury, reading the will of the gods in the birds, how they flew, where they gathered, the cries they gave. A system with rules, with signs anyone could point to. He offered his sight as counsel. Here is what the signs say. Here is what can be done. He fought for Troy, he counselled its king, and he was believed. Consulted before decisions, honoured in the household. Even his enemies found him worth keeping. When the Greeks captured him late in the war, he told them exactly what it would take to bring Troy down. It was counsel against his own city, and they rewarded him for it. He survived the fall that killed his family. He ended his life far away, a king with a new kingdom, still prophesying and still believed. Notice what you feel toward him. Some part of you understands the bargain he made. Some part of you has been offered it. Cassandra took the same gift raw. No system, no birds, no procedure a listener could inspect. The visions came to her complete, and she spoke them exactly as they came. The tradition adds a curse. Apollo desired her, she refused him, and he made certain she would always speak truly and never be believed. But set the curse aside and look at the pattern underneath it, because the pattern does not need a god to explain it. She warned against Paris sailing to Sparta. Nobody moved. She said the wooden horse held armed men. The city hauled it through the gates with songs. Some tellings say her own father kept her locked away, out of sight, an embarrassment to the house. Troy fell on the night she said it would, in the way she said it would. She was dragged from the altar of Athena, handed to Agamemnon as a prize of war, killed at Mycenae, still saying what she saw. Notice what happens in your body as you hear her story. That tightening is not sympathy. It is memory. Same blood, same temples, same serpents, same sight. One twin died a king, the other died a warning. So what was actually different? Not accuracy. Nothing Helenus saw was truer than what she saw, not courage. She had more of it. The difference was the form the sight arrived in. Helenus converted his sight into service. He told people what could be done. Cassandra delivered hers as truth. She told people what was. Counsel can be held. It flatters the listener with choices. Truth cannot be held. It leaves the listener nowhere to stand. The one who heals the situation is welcomed at every fire. The one who names the situation is asked one way or another to leave. That is the split. And it did not stay inside the walls of Troy. You recognize it because the same two verdicts have been handed down on you in smaller rooms your whole life. When your sight arrives as care, you are loved for it. You sit with someone who is breaking. You hold what they cannot hold. You say the one thing that steadies them. They thank you. They keep you close. They tell other people about you. But when the same sight arrives as truth, when you name what is actually happening in a family, a workplace, a friendship, the temperature drops. The silence afterwards has a texture you know by heart. And here is the part I want you to hear slowly. You decided the difference was you. Too blunt, too intense, wrong timing, wrong words. You have spent years sanding your own delivery, softening the opening, rehearsing the sentence, apologizing in advance, apologizing in the end for being right. And the verdict never changed, because the verdict was never about delivery. It was about which half of your gift the room could afford to receive. This is the healer and the seer. Not two kinds of person, two receptions of the same person. You. The room keeps the healer close because the healer's sight is serviceable. It arrives as comfort, as a next step, as a way through. The same room drives out the seer because the seer's sight is true and truth cannot be spent. Troy split this between a brother and a sister. You carry the split in one body. You have been rewarded and punished by turns without ever changing what you are. What Troy told as a story about twins, Jung would recognize as one cognitive architecture. The Sigma INFJ leads with introverted intuition. That is the sight. It reaches other people through extroverted feeling. That is the care. People welcome your second function and fear your first. This is not mysticism. It is nigh-dominant cognition meeting a world that only has room for half of it, and the world has managed its discomfort the same way in every century. The ones who made their sight serviceable were fed, titled, kept. The ones who would not were called mad, locked away, married off, burned, talked over. Diagnosed at dinner tables by people who never asked a single question. And still the sight kept surfacing. It surfaced in cunning women and village healers who were consulted at night and condemned by day. It surfaced in every generation, just as it did in Troy. Split, punished, never destroyed. It has surfaced again in you. You are not descended from the ones who were believed. You are how the refused line survives. Now the inheritance, because the lineage hands down more than the wound. The first thing it hands down is a warning in each direction. There is a temptation of Helenus. Make the sight endlessly useful, and be rewarded for it forever. Read the room, serve the room, prophesy for whoever holds power, and you will always have a place at the fire. He got a kingdom. He also spent his gift advising the people who burned his city. Permanent welcome has a price, and the price is the truth of the gift. And there is a temptation of Cassandra, speak everything, everywhere, at full power, and call the destruction that follows proof of your honesty. It is not. Martyrdom is not fidelity to the sight. The sight dies with you. The inheritance offers a third position, and it has a name almost nobody knows. In the early 2000s, a Spanish psychiatrist named José Luis González de Rivera coined the word ekpathy. If empathy is the capacity to be moved by what another person feels, ekpathy is its voluntary complement. The trained skill of not being flooded by it, not coldness, not detachment, the deliberate ability to feel a room's need for comfort pressing against you, and to keep your sight clear anyway. Clinicians are trained toward it, because a healer who drowns in the patient's fear loses the clarity the patient came for. Sit with what that means. The thing you have been punished for, holding still while everyone needed you to soften what you saw, is a documented clinical skill. You were never cold. You were doing, untrained and alone, what the best healers are deliberately taught, which means the split was never real. The seer's stillness is what makes the healer safe. The gift was never two gifts. It is one fire, and it asks for tending, knowing when to warm a room with it and when to let it burn clear and say what it sees. So here is what changes now. You stop auditing your delivery. 20 years of evidence should be enough. The softest possible sentence still drops the temperature, because it was never the sentence. The question is no longer how to say it so that no one turns. That question has no answer, and Cassandra's whole life is the proof. The question becomes which hand this moment is asking for. Some rooms need the poultice, some hours need the testimony. Not every room deserves the testimony, and not every hour is served by the poultice. Choosing is not betrayal. Choosing is the craft the lineage died learning, and it is yours now. I have watched this split play out in more lives than I can count. The ones who come out whole are neither the loudest nor the softest. They are the ones who stop, apologizing for the half that frightens people. Tell me in the comments which verdict found you first, the thanked hands or the doubted voice. Some of the truest writing on this channel lives below the videos, not in them. I read every word, and when this video ends, there is one waiting on screen about the hermit. It is the other survival strategy. What happens when the seer stops arguing with the room and carries the sight somewhere it can be kept alive? If this has landed somewhere it needed to land, then you may already know what comes next. There are 7 Sigma INFJ archetypes, and each one carries a different gift, a different burden, a different mythic responsibility. The link in the description will take you to a free assessment that reveals yours. It takes about 3 minutes. The answer tends to land harder than people expect. And if you want to keep walking these threads with me into the deeper psychology of the Sigma INFJ, into the archetypes the world has forgotten how to name, subscribe. There are far older and stranger things still to uncover. Until next time, find your power, know your myth,